Hi, I'm Rob, and today we're at the Calleva Arms in Silchester. So the Calleva Arms was once the Crown Inn, changed the name to Calleva Arms for what would become on this walk obvious reasons. It's a perishing cold December morning, it's 1 degree, there's fog, but there is a lovely Christmas tree. So let's start our walk. So we start our walk with the pub to our back. We cross the road and walk alongside the playing fields. Cross the road to the War Memorial, and then behind it there's this path that leads off into the bushes. Golly, a bit of broom still in bloom. Well, the path that we're on is it's a bit of a long distance footpath. It's 78 miles long and it goes between Andover and Aldershot. It's called the Brenda Parker Way, and Brenda Parker was a big noise in Hampshire Ramblers, and this is a tribute to her. She died a few years ago now, back in the late 2000s, about 2008, 2009 I think it was, and this was open Easter 2011. So when we get to the road we turn left and then we carry on down the footpath by this green hut. Can horses look sad? Well, that one does, in his raincoat out in the cold. So we're going to turn right through this kissing gate, and you can see an earth bank which forms almost a circle all the way through where we're going to go. And this is actually a 1st century oppidum. Now an oppidum is a fortified settlement, and that was built by the Atrebatum, a tribe called the Atrebatum. They're a Celtic tribe, and they lived in this area and fortified it by their oppidum. And later on there were more invaders that came to this area, which I'll explain about later. Anyway, through the kissing gate and let's go. Now at this point you can see that the oppidum has been enhanced with a stone wall, and this is the work of further invaders. So the Romans arrived soon after the Roman conquest in 43 AD, and they found these oppidums from the old late Iron Age tribes like the Atrebates. They found them very handy, so they could build fortified towns with great stone walls. There's another yew tree. You're used to seeing yew trees and getting the old story from me in my videos, but this one's very, very special. It's grown out of the oppidum and through the wall, and it's clinging on to the Roman wall. So this is the south gate of the Roman town, constructed around AD 270. And it goes 2.5 kilometres around the town. Now my walk on the map takes you around the outside, but if you want to, you can go through the south gate and continue on the inside. So here we are, we've come in through the gate, and we're now atop the oppidum, adjacent to the Roman wall, so you can see how the Romans bolstered the defences there by adding the wall onto the outward edge. And we're going to continue parallel with the path that runs outside the walls, so you can do either. Anyway, let's take a look at this. So even without the fog, there's a whole lot of nothingness. So as we walk along, I'll tell you a little bit about that whole lot of nothingness. That is actually the town of Calleva Atrebatum. Now the Romans often named their towns after the people that were there before. So Calleva Atrebatum is named after the late Iron Age tribe of the Atrebates. Anyway, in that vast amount of nothingness that you see over there, that was a town of 10,000 people at one time. It was a major Roman town and a major junction for several of the Roman roads. There was the Devil's Highway, which ran to London. There was the Ermine Way that ran to Gloucester, and there was the Portway that ran to Old Sarum or Salisbury. So why do you ask, was it abandoned? Well, the Romans stayed there till about 400 AD, and then there was trouble in Rome. They had to go back and pull out of the whole of Britain to go and defend Rome, and it was left to the inhabitants of Britain. Now it remained empty for a long time, and the Saxons came along, invaded Britain, but they weren't interested in it because they preferred their towns of Winchester and Dorchester, and then in this area they decided to build Basing and Reading. So by 450 AD it had become completely abandoned. Nobody here, and nobody lived here again, save the odd farmer these days. It remained empty and abandoned for nearly 2,000 years, but we still have these marvellous walls and a lot of other things as well. Roughly this area, we are in the sort of southeast part of the town, they had thermal baths, and there were villas, and there's even an amphitheater which seated 7,000 people. So remember, the town had 10,000 people in it. 7,000 of those could go to the amphitheater and watch a bear fight or gladiator fight. So there's the path you could take. As I say, we're parallel to it. That's the one on the map, but I think it's much more interesting to walk atop the oppidum. And in the distance there, looming out of the fog, is the church of St Mary the Virgin. So we enter into the graveyard of St Mary the Virgin. As I say, it's a late 12th century church with additions ever since, and makes you wonder why it was built here really, because the Roman town had been abandoned, so it would have been the Saxons, late 12th century, and there's no one about. But maybe the answer lies with what was here before, because what was here before is a Roman temple. So maybe they saw it as some sort of holy ground and decided to build on the site of the temple. And did a little circumnavigation of the church. Lots of yew trees. Unfortunately, church isn't open due to coronavirus again, but as I say, lots of yew trees. Nice big one with a lovely bench underneath. The story of the yew trees again is that Christians revered them because it was like death and resurrection, because of their tendency for the branches to dip, and when they make contact with the soil they could throw up new trees and therefore new life from old. I mean, this is all English heritage. Well, the church isn't, I mean the church is a church, but the whole of the Roman town is English heritage, so you're quite welcome to come here and walk around and have a look. That's the farmhouse to Manor Farm, looks Tudor. So we come through the gate away from the church and we head for a short while onto the lane. We'll stop in to admire a very nice but very weedy pond with some lovely bulrushes in. So we leave the church behind and we're going to go left up the lane. Don't confuse that footpath sign there, because that doesn't go where we want to go. We want to go up the lane. Look at that, those chooks have got their right trousers on for a day like today. Lovely and insulated under all them feathers. So ignore the sign, and despite being on the walls and walking around Roman Silchester, we follow the English heritage sign Roman Silchester, which take us to the aforementioned amphitheater. So just as the road bends round, on the right here is a gate which will lead us into the amphitheater, and there it is in its glory. So here we are, we're right in the middle of the amphitheater, nearly 2,000 years old and abandoned for nearly 2,000 years. Lining these banks, probably on tiered seats and maybe some on the grass, 7,000 spectators watching gladiators fighting or bear fighting or lots of these other family friendly Roman things. Quite magnificent, and now quite deserted. So I wonder what were in these little alcoves. Maybe the animals were in there when the people were brought in? Don't know. Let's get a spectator's eye view of the arena. So there we are, looking down into the arena. The view that the Roman citizens would have got set up top here. Maybe the poorer ones sat up top away from the action. Well, they wouldn't have had holly bushes to contend with. That's grown in the 2,000 years since. So leaving the amphitheatre behind, ignoring the gate we came in, we head across the field to another gate which will take us out to continue our walk. So after a very short distance we come off the lane and head back over to the walls again. Bit of a little bridge over some muddy bits. Again, all that nothingness over there, that was a town of 10,000 people. Lovely thick moss growing on top of this wall. Look at that. Quite slippery, the stones, when they're wet in the mud there, so be careful. Bit of 21st century repair going on here. It's really sobering walking along here, thinking that Roman centurions would have stomped along this path 2,000 odd years ago, walking round and round on top of the walls, making sure nobody was going to come and raid the town, keeping the inhabitants safe. It's quite amazing, really. You can feel the history of this place, and the fog actually adds to that today, makes it kind of mystic. Or am I just being daft? Answers in the comments. Over in the distance I can hear turkeys. not a good sound when it's this near to Christmas. But anyway, this is the north gate. So there we are, that's what the north gate would have looked like. About 8200 a rampart of earth and clay was constructed, though it featured masonry gatehouses. One of these gatehouses built in stone and tile stands behind me. A recess can still be seen indicating the position where the gate would have hung. The grassed over remains of the rampart are visible on either side of the gate. In about AD 270 these defences were strengthened with a massive stone wall. While the defences offered general protection from enemies, they also allowed for control of all traffic entering and leaving the town. Major dual carriageway gates were situated to the east and west of the town, and single carriageway gates were located to the south and here at the north. So I guess the gates would have hung here. There's the recess, just under this rock. If you want to explore some more, there's also a footpath that runs straight down the middle of the town. There you go. And there's a bit of a close-up of what the town was like before. So you see the temple where the church is, the forum, town baths, mansion house, another temple the other side. Oh, he was posing handsomely for me a minute ago, that sheep. It's run off. So instead of going straight on, we turn right to follow this footpath away from Calleva Atrebatum and finish our visit to the old Roman bit back towards the more modern village. So, having negotiated the style, stayed away from whoever's firing the shotguns, to walk along the edge of this field. It's a well marked footpath through the field, not even too muddy despite the rain. It's quite a nice walk this. There's a bit of mud, don't get me wrong, but it's very easily passable. So we cross a bit of a junction of paths and we have the least well marked one. It could be one of two or three, so across the middle of the field, and when you get to the hedge the other side to emerge onto the road you might have to scrabble around for an entrance on the road, but I think it's this one. It's fairly well marked, as in well trodden, and I can see the road there, and there is a gap in the hedge, so I think I'm going right. Yeah, so we were slightly to the left of an even better worn path, so when you pick it up you sort of come along the footpath you were on through the previous field, go right on the footpath up towards where there's a kissing gate with a couple of footpath signs, and you'll see this path leading across the field on your left, and it brings us out to this kissing gate. And look at the lovely root system and tree stump here. Call me weird, but that would be good in the garden. Sort of like a modern day sculpture. So when we get to the road, we look left, we look right, look right and then left, and we walk along. It's quite busy, this little bit of road, so be a bit careful. Cross over and face the oncoming traffic in a minute. There we go. We've gone left up the lane. So we turn left down Little London Road towards Silchester and Little London. After a few yards we turn right into School Lane. Oh, that's nice. Reuben Knight lived here, who's Obviously one of the people lost in the 1418 war. So there's Silchester Church of England Primary School. Kids are out to play, but it's always time to go in because you can hear them saying it's tidy up time. Anyway, we continue past the school, out onto the common stroke playing fields. So path to the right, path to the left, and we take the path to the left. And we're going to head across the playing fields, back to the pub, which I can just see in the distance, faintly glowing in the fog. Although not open, unfortunately. I'd love to have gone in there for a cup of coffee. Nice little cricket pavilion there, home of Silchester Cricket Club. And if you've brought your young ones on a walk, and you can avoid that road bit by backtracking the way you came actually. So when I turned right at Silchester, at the Roman village, instead of turning right, carry on along the path along the edge of the Roman village and turn right again. That takes you on the path you were brought on, which is a bit safer for kids. But you can treat them to a go in a very nice play park. Look at that. Now, a whale of a time could be had in there. Even a picnic bench for Mum and Dad. And just in case you weren't aware what time of year it is, Merry Christmas. And there's the pub over there. Look at that massive pumpkin. Anyway, I got some information about the village. A couple of famous-ish people that lived here. One was Richard Cart. Yeah, I know, but he was the father of Richard D'Oyley Cart, who produced a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan operas back in Victorian times. The other one may be known to some of you, a lady called Alice Fowler, and she was on BBC Garden as well. Probably the most famous thing it's famous for is a ring, a Sylvianus ring, that was found around the village in 1785, and that inspired Tolkien to write Lord of the Rings and the One Ring story. So here we are, we're back at the Calleva Arms. It's a lovely little walk, 3 miles, it's not too muddy. As I say, if you want to cut out that road bit, if you've got kids on the last bit, just track back and go down the way you came and come out over the run. But anyway, I've enjoyed the walk and hope you've enjoyed the walk, and if you have, then please like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.